to a special edition of Poetry Dumpling, live for Yorkshire Day, where we celebrate Yorkshire writers, poets, Yorkshire dialect and all things Yorkshire. Poetry Dumpling is a live online poetry event brought to you by Kirklees Libraries, showcasing local poets, bringing poetry to a wider audience, connecting people with local writing groups, and giving writing groups a platform to perform their own work. The name Poetry Dumpling came about after a conversation between Jude and me about how most cultures have some form of dumpling. For example, dim sum in China, pierogi in Poland, momos in Nepal, and sambusa from Iran. And I apologize to all you people if I've pronounced any of those incorrectly, which I'm sure I have. So we loved the connection between poetry and food, and we were thinking about how poetry can be and has been both comforting and nourishing during our time in lockdown.
Hi, yeah, and one of the ways that you can celebrate Yorkshire Day is by borrowing some Yorkshire books. And we've created a collection, a special collection of Yorkshire Day inspired books. I've just put kirklees.overdrive.com up there, and that is where you go to borrow some books. We've got Yorkshire poets, we've got Yorkshire authors, we've got Yorkshire jokes, and much, much more. And also, we'd love to hear from you and find out who your favourite Yorkshire person is. One of the things you can do is go to the chat box in YouTube, Facebook or Twitter, wherever you might be watching this from. Type away in there, and any comments or questions will come over to us, and we'll do our very best to answer them live during today's event. So what's the lineup for today? I'm just going to get a little banner up. Well, actually, it's quite a long banner because we've got some super special guests coming up. Angela and I are just introducing the event. Then we've got Testament as our first guest, followed by Christina Longden, who is our amazing writer in residence. And she's brought along a special guest called Catherine Ward. And I'll leave Catherine to tell you all about herself and what she does, but there's a definite Yorkshire connection there. And then we're going to have a coffee break or a tea break or a brew or whatever you want to call it. And then about 5 to 8, we're welcoming the Talking Zebras, who are a local Cleckheaton-based spoken word group. And they're going to come along and do some amazing poetry as well. So let's get on, I think, and welcome our first guest. But I'm just going to tell you a little bit about him because he's an amazing, amazing guest. Testament is a hip-hop MC. I'm just going to make sure that I get everything in here because it is lots of things, as well as a kind of honorary Yorkshire man as well. So he's a hip-hop MC, a writer, a theatre maker, and a world record-breaking human beatboxer. I've got a recent quote that I just pulled up from Jonty Claypole, BBC Director of Arts, about a show that Testament had written, composed and performed. Testament's show is called Orpheus in the Record Shop. And it's described as an exciting, poetic and deeply moving show, written and performed by one of the most exciting creative voices working anywhere in the UK right now. And so we're in Kirklees for Yorkshire Day, super privileged to welcome, let me just get the banner off before we have any distractions. Welcome Testament to our special Yorkshire Day Poetry Dumpling Live.
Hello.
Hi, Testament. So great to meet you. How are you doing, honorary Yorkshire bloke?
I'm good. I'm having a cup of tea. I'm just down the road. And it's nice to be here.
Fantastic. Well, one of the reasons, I mean, there's hundreds of reasons that we wanted to welcome you back to Kirklees Libraries. But one of them, particular for Yorkshire Day, is because I know that you recorded a track. Well, you and another couple of people recorded a track with the Yorkshire Brass Band, and it's called Gratitude. And I thought it would be amazing for Yorkshire Day to be able to show that and show and invite you to join us and just maybe have a bit of a chat about the track that you recorded after we've seen the video.
Yeah, sounds great.
Does that sound okay? Just
Yep.
takes a moment for me to just share the window, and we should be able to get gratitude up, and then we'll hear a little bit more about what it was like making this track. So let's get that large and start sharing.
Sometimes you gotta take a little second, look around, take a breath, comprehend. The first page shows back in 97. Been a long road, every step I count a blessing. Ran the world a few times, but home is forever. Testament to home cut. Success is just the hoax that they sell us. Keep it real like Yorkshire, they're not confused with the sword. Cause I was born with no silver spoon. Family did alright, fight jobs, and we seen a few, at least I had a spoon. Baby food tip to pocket money on Fridays, penny shoes off the
Hey, hey up, mate.
Hey! So sorry about this. Let me get myself back in. Hi. Was the volume okay?
I felt like I was hearing it through your microphone rather than over
Okay,
the studio.
sorry. Maybe I'll just have a playback at the break, and if it doesn't sound great, I'll redo it.
Well, the words came up anyway, so that's good.
Oh, fantastic! I mean, I'm happy to try it again and get the volume up properly. It's up to you.
No, I think hopefully it read and people could hear some of it. I don't know.
Brilliant, right?
Anyway,
so I can replay it at break time. Sorry if it didn't work as well as I hoped it would. Sorry, I'm just checking the messages. Oh yeah, maybe no sound. Right, I'll make sure we can replay it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Right, so I'll move on to one of the questions that we've got, which is, what was it like working with the Yorkshire Brass Band?
It was amazing. So the project was initiated by Huddersfield University, that reached out to me for this project called Roots to Inspire, which was the very aim of the project, was to get different musical collaborations that you don't normally expect. So you could have an Indian dancer working with a care home in Kirklees, and just different
Fantastic.
combinations of stuff. And I did a series of workshops with Honley High School, and it was eventually it was the music teacher from Honley who we were chatting, and I was like, he arranges for brass bands all around Yorkshire, has done Brickhouse and Rastrick, and the Huddersfield football team's brass band, the Terriers, and I said, I'd always wanted to see that collision between hip hop and brass bands.
Yeah.
So he said, you write it, I'll arrange it. So I wrote the music, and
Wow.
yeah, I wanted that. I don't know much about brass bands at all. So Lee Baker, who did the arranging and who features there as well, playing I think it's a French horn or something, some sort of horn, and he really helped me in terms of like knowing what instrument, which parts of the chord and which sounds fit each instrument the best, and so that was really great. Brilliant. But then the magical thing was being in St Paul's Chapel on Huddersfield University property, and having that massive warm sound from a brass band, and then a fat beat underneath it from a scratch DJ. So that collision of sound, and it is, people do automatically think definitely Northern and usually Yorkshire as well. When you hear that kind of warm tremolo sound, like the Hoviside,
Yeah, absolutely.
You meet, that's where people often go to. So I've now spent the majority of my life in God's country, and I really wanted to celebrate that on a track, and Yorkshire has been very, very good to me, not just in terms of giving me breaks in my career, and whether that's the first gigs and festivals that I played, Leeds Festival, or playing the Faversham, or playing Greenacre Festival in Greenacre Park, early on in my career.
Absolutely.
Right down to the Leeds Playhouse have been a massive backer of what I do. Chol Theatre in Huddersfield gave me opportunities, and so I've got a lot to be thankful for the people of Yorkshire for, including marrying Yorkshire, as I say in the song. My wife is my wife describes herself as Huddersfax, so she grew up in Huddersfield and in Halifax, and went to Greenacre College actually in Huddersfield, sixth form college, and then lived here for a long time. And then also my kids now, I've got 3 kids, and they all speak with Yorkshire accents and use Yorkshire dialects. So I'm very, very grateful. I realised one time I did I took my kids to Loverton Hall, and we went for a pub lunch afterwards, and in the toilet in the pub, don't worry, it's not going to get dark. It had these plaques on the wall, and it had the White Rose, and it had all this like Yorkshire sort of axioms or whatever, like expressions, and I just found myself being really proud, And even though I'm not from Yorkshire originally, but like I'm looking at my kids and I'm like, yeah, you own it.
It's a great county.
Yeah, it is. And my brother-in-law's got a tattoo on the sole of his foot which says "Made in Yorkshire."
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Painful, but really good.
Totally. And he's in America and making Yorkshire puddings and flying the flag now. But yeah,
Wow.
there is this like not just the civic pride, it's the whole county, isn't it? And
Yeah,
on
it
that
is.
track, actually, it was mixed by a DJ from Sheffield, Andy H, legendary Yorkshire scratch DJ. The Saju Ahmed is the other rapper who's Leeds born and bred with Bengali heritage, and so like he's Yorkshire and Bengali flying the flag for that. And also part of the legendary Leeds young authors. And the scratch DJ is called Michael, who's originally from Grimsby, around that way, but has now lived most of his life in Yorkshire, and in the last few years has become the UK scratch champion.
Amazing!
So we have a Yorkshire-based scratch, and there's loads of hip hop. One of the things that I was conscious of when I on the track was to try and get as many links. So the vocalist there singing the hook is Ruby Wood of the Submotion Orchestra, an amazing, acclaimed group, and she's recently moved out of the Dirty Big Smoke, the Horrible Big Smoke, out there in London, and now resides back in Huddersfield.
So she's travelled back up north.
Yeah, and she's an international artist, but she's now basing herself in Huddersfield because it's the best place.
It's got a great music tradition as well. I'm just going to jump in and just apologise to everybody that the volume was not very good. So what I'm proposing is that we've got a coffee break after we've spoken with Christina and Catherine. And during the coffee break, what I'm proposing is that I put that on again for everybody to have a little listen to and properly hear it and give it proper justice. Because it is great seeing the subtitles and reading the lyrics, but actually the sound is awesome. So I will be playing that again. Thanks for the interruption, letting me interrupt their testament.
No worries.
Oh, hi Tracy, thanks for, sorry, another message came up there. I'm just going to double check that we haven't got any messages coming through apart from the listening and all the rest of it. Try to replay and share. We'll share the link to it as well later on. So I do apologise everybody for that. I'm just going to get Testament's details up as well. So you can find Testament via his website, and there's lots of information there about Testament. And also you can follow him on Twitter too. So I know Kirklees Libraries have had the pleasure of inviting Testament to do lots of different projects with us over the years. So it's wonderful to have you back again, Testament. And I know people haven't tuned in to hear me asking you loads of questions. I'm sure they'll want to fly questions in as well. But more importantly, they'd love to hear you do a little bit of your performance as well. So I don't know what you might have planned to kind of perform for us today. Some of it might be a bit Yorkshire orientated.
So I have two pieces of literature in front of me, which I don't know quite what to read, but I think, you know what, I'm gonna do both.
Yes,
because we love the Huddersfield Library. This first one is a very, very short extract from this book called Gifts of Gravity and Light. For those who are massive Simon Armitage fans, you'll guess that this is actually a quote of Simon Armitage talking about the seasons. Gifts of gravity and light. That's what the seasons are. And he contributes a chapter to this book, and it's an anthology of different responses to the seasons. So Simon Armitage is one of the writers from down the road, but you've also got, Alice Fowler, Jackie Kay, Zakiya McKenzie, and some rapper guy. Testament contributes to tracks as well, which I'm very grateful to be invited to do that. But my chapter is all about spring, and it's called The Hoarfrost Butterfly. So my chapter in it is about, it's a little bit to do with our interaction with nature. Well, it's loads to do with our interaction with nature, and there's a phenomenon now where sometimes because of global warming and stuff, butterflies are coming out a bit too early, and you can sometimes see like a butterfly comes out and then gets caught in the cold, and unfortunately, and dies. So it's sort of a meditation on this amazing season where everything comes to life, but also like how we've messed with that. But the good part of it, a lot of my chapter takes place in Calderdale and Kirklees, and this I'm just read a poem that comes from my chapter. And during lockdown, I don't know if you at home had the same thing, but we ended up doing loads of walks. So this is a little poem about me taking my kids out for a walk in the middle of lockdown and enjoying spring, despite like the quite oppressive things that were happening to us nationally, and we're still shaking off now. So here we go. Finishing my tea and putting the shoes on. Telling 3 kids to get a move on. Living round here is odd. We got 4 supermarkets and a train station. Primary school next door. Access to motorways, and it's okay. What we forget is the amount of green sequestered between all of these. We don't have to drive for hours. Just stumble around the corner to the places recommended a number of times by the retired couple next door. No big mission. Now we find what was on our doorstep long before the packages the delivery men bring. Lockdown means we have a new routine. So for a few months, we have new routes to see. It's a habit and it's fun, become part of life. So we start up the road, past cars parked on the side, nod at a few neighbours, a half attempt at a wave, and turn left past the corner shop. We're rocking pavements. Our 6-year-old tries to read a sign pointing off between semi-detached houses, and we stop. The boy squints. Public footpath. So that's my extract from Gifts of Gravity and Light. And then I'll tell you about one more thing, and I'll bosh this out as well. Also during lockdown, something really weird happened, because there was a period where the restrictions were being relaxed a little bit in October of last year, and Leeds Playhouse decided to put on a socially distanced festival, which I took part in, and they commissioned me to write the piece, which was all about going from isolation and returning to community. So it was a collaboration between Leeds Playhouse, Opera North, and me. So I wrote these a play and with poems and songs in it, and wrote the music for an ensemble from Opera North to play. And towards the end of the piece, which was a really beautiful piece, like sonically it was really rich and uplifting, we follow the story of a Leeds-based Orpheus who runs a record shop, and the piece is called Orpheus in the Record Shop. It's also published just recently on Methuen. And towards the end, the character of Orpheus, who is a Leeds ex-DJ turned record shop owner, he has lost everything and he's looking for hope, and he finds hope again. So this is a piece that I normally read with an underscore of violins and harps and French horns and bassoons and all the rest of it. But I'll just read this a cappella for you right now. So Orpheus is from Leeds, so he doesn't sound like me. So this is Night from Orpheus in the Record Shop. Night falls with subliminal force, a difficult existence living on pause. The city song turns silent, inward to thought, continuous slog. Sick of 4 walls, I make a wish I could finish it all. If I close my eyes forever, would I stay invisible? Night. Daydream dismantled, colours in the sky run underground, clustering these clouds into frowns. Streets beneath growl, broken records spun around the same lanes. We got our troubles, we strung them out. Traffic lights on red, but no vehicles to wait. Empty office windows watch forsaken industrial estates. Up here, across the orange lamp glow, we survey the pulse of the city, heart slow to a resting state. But I can see a cab driver wiping vomit off the back seat after dropping a guy off at A&E for free. A security guard walks home on the phone talking to a faraway daughter. And in 3 different houses, one girl is sleeping fully dressed but peaceful. One pushes her red face into a Lion King pillow and her mum is washed and fed. One pulls up the duvet a little tighter, and downstairs there's a letter with an acceptance to a new school. A father sits in an armchair drinking cheap rum and nods off during Newsnight to dream of a lost love. A DJ opens a new tab and looks into the rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole is recording every click and keystroke. Across estates, tower blocks, semi-detached garage extensions, lives behind walls, too wrapped up in their own complexities, the tangle of intentions, expectations and aspirations ended. But everything is connected. The conspiracy is not what we thought. There are whispers, conversations in secret places, plans set into motions, and we are ambushed by kindness. Holding hands over city skies, standing sentinel over sanctuary sleep. And even though we have buried beacons beneath bad dreams, compassion watches at the window. It is angels that crouch in shadows, healing that waits for us. A conspiracy of love, working just out of sight, each of us wanting each of us to be okay. It's not them, it's us. I'm alive, and that's the start. And music, music is everywhere. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Cool.
It feels like a perfect time to ask this question, actually, as well, because your accent changed and the dialect was slightly different within what the Orpheus and the record store. So I'm just going to ask you the question. So how do you consider dialect in poetry, rap and spoken word, which are all things that you do, compared to when you're writing for the theatre?
Yeah, I mean, I think language is really potent, you know, like a bit of punctuation can totally make or break a poem sometimes. You know, like poetry has got that economy of language. And so you want everything to be just so as much as possible. We can never get it totally right, but as much as we can, we use everything available to get the meaning across, to paint those pictures, to make people feel what it's like. And I was really keen in my theatre work, especially with Black Men Walking, for example, which is very, very much a celebration of Yorkshireness and Black Yorkshireness as well, and Britishness. But Yorkshire is a huge, and the landscape are a huge character in it. I was really keen that I didn't write generic dialogue, but it felt like it was coming from a place. So, so it's you know, when there's the 4 characters in Black Men Walking, for example, you've got Matthew, who's sort of upper class, who's from like Berkshire way or Oxfordshire, and Richard, who's from Ghana, and then you've got the main lead, really, which is the oldest of the Black men that go on these walks in the play, called Thomas. And actually, the youth dialect is massive in terms of conveying what's going on, and who they are and what they represent. So, a quick example. So Thomas is having a bit of a crisis, but he doesn't want to show it. And the other characters are asking him, here's a bit from the play, Thomas, are you all right? He says, what? I'm raped. Or I'm, you know, so, you know, it's just that tells you loads about who he is. If a character said, I'm all right, yeah, you can have a guess at who the character is. But if he says, you know, if he says I'm raped, that tells you where he's from. And, you know, Richard's saying, what were you shouting about? Are you sure you're feeling well? And then Thomas says, will you give over and stop asking if I'm all right? Just the will you give over? Like, again, it just puts you in a time and a space. And coming from a black man as well, like, it just really, like, there's a whole history just there. So for me, that's in terms of writing a character. And I think about poetry, and poetry it's about what voice am I speaking in. So if it's a rap within a play, like you just heard, you're going to hear, if the character's from Leeds, it's going to sound, or Chapeltown even in Leeds, he's going to say things slightly different. Or he might bring up an idiom or something like that, which again just tells information about who they are, how they're feeling, where they've come from. And poems can be that as well. Like, I remember Blake has always been a massive influence to me, and I'm thinking about when he's writing about chimney sweeps or whatnot, and it's sometimes, very often in Blake's songs, Innocence and Experience, it's not just his authorial voice talking about, you know, the state of the world, but often it is in the voice of a little black boy talking to his mum, or in the case of the one about with the chimney sweeps, you know, you've got Tom and he's talking to his chimney sweep friends it's in a voice. And again, there's loads of ways to express that, but for me, I find real joy in sort of taking in and using different dialects to paint. It's a different part of your palette, and it makes plays feel really different. I mean, all performances feel really different. Obviously, if you've got Ian McMillan reading a poem and in his natural voice, it will automatically have a Yorkshireness to it. But like, there is a specificity and a joy in celebrating like that. I'll give you one last quick example from a poem that I did for the English Touring Theatre Company. It's on a podcast called That Podcast by the English Touring Theatre Company, and it's called The Story of Zero. And in one piece, lasts about 7 minutes, just a 7-minute with loads of music going in and out of it, and it's all about the power of stories.
Fantastic.
But although I'm speaking it, the change of dialect means we can change time and space, and it totally changes your perception of the poem. So I'll read just a very so this is all about stories. So here we go. I'll just last about 30 seconds. So starting in harmony, progression, discord, and a return home. A story is a promise of change, a shift, and return to a new promise. A story about Suat Alder. Look, Ruby, what time do you call this? You come here. Now, where have you been? What's all this green stuff all over your trousers? The park. Your mum's not going to be happy. Do you see that? So, like, what I just did there, going from more formal language. Really colloquial. He shifts the rhythm of things and can take us from the zoomed out bird's eye view, God's perspective, to being in a bedroom
very domestic,
or in someone's house, and talking to their and you're right there. So I love that power of words and dialect to be able to go to be able to time travel, to be able to geography shift really quickly within a phrase, you know.
And also, like you were saying, by adding a certain type of dialect to the character, it broadens the character as well, doesn't it? It gives you another insight into who they are and what they do and all the rest of it. I love those examples. Amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is you know, it's what I mean. It's a tool in as a lyricist as well, and you know, when you're listening to the Kaiser Chiefs and they're using dialect, or even people singing in a British accent, you know, singing a soul song, sort of American derived in a British accent, like Crimbelly Ray, another Yorkshire lass does. All of a sudden it's a different kind of musicality, it's a different flavour, a different texture, and it's really powerful actually, and it makes it sometimes it makes things just feel more specific. And there's a thing that I find in plays and stories in particular, which is the more specific the reference, the more universal it is actually. because like
Okay.
you know when you sometimes when you're talking, you know, and someone says you know, I'm gonna freestyle here. You know, I really love teddy bears.
Yeah.
Teddy bears keep me warm. Teddy bears keep us warm at night. It's quite general.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's like super duper specific, that teddy bear on the shelf with the bow tie on, and I can hear the sound of the kettle downstairs. All of a sudden, those specific little details. Oh, she always loves the teddy that. Oh, she doesn't love the teddy that I bought her from the Build-A-Bear workshop, which cost me plumbing £35.
Yeah.
But she loved that one I got from the petrol station when I was coming home to Christmas and I didn't have time to go to the shopping centre, you know. So that specific thing makes us feel the emotion more, because it feels like someone really is actually feeling that, even if it's a piece of fiction. Someone, you know, we can picture it. The movie gets played in our head, and the more specific those little details are, the chocolate wrapper on the floor, the cereal all over the kitchen floor, which the kids haven't tidied up, and you know, those little specific details make us feel empathy more than just generalized
stuff. And you just reminded me of the first time I heard Arctic Monkeys' song Mardy Bum, and it threw me straight back to being a kid when I lived in Sheffield. And I know it's used by a lot of people, but because of their accent, and I was just like, whoa, this is so good. And it just made me feel all warm and kind of, you know, like I was part of that bigger conversation, I suppose. So it throws out all sorts of things, doesn't it? Dialect.
I've got also there's something about putting it in an elevated form, like well, we're going to put it on record on a song, and we're going to put it on you know, we'll stick it on iTunes or on Bandcamp or whatever, or we're going to put it on a stage in a theatre, and it's something that like so the dialects of Black America through hip hop, which is my primary art form, is hip hop. It elevates an area, elevates a region, elevates a dialect, a way of thinking. So when you know, whether that is the expression "it's all good," which has become popularized through hip hop. My mum, you know, I say, "Oh, I can't make it tonight." She, "Oh, it's all good." That's come from hip hop. She doesn't realize it, but like, you know, it's become popularized. Or even like there's loads of different people saying "fam" now, isn't it? So because like grime has popularized that. Grime, you know, so our British version of sort of subgenre of hip hop has popularized the way we speak. You know, Doctor Who says "fam" now. You know,
of course, well, she's from Huddersfield, isn't she? If we're talking about Jodie.
Well, exactly. So there's something about elevating something and making it cool. So you're not just making it specific, but you're changing language, and it means that there's more of a cross-cultural melting pot, and I think that's really important. Having a cross-cultural melting pot, I think, especially in this day and age where we still have racism and division and stuff, I think it's more important than ever.
Yeah, and people then start to, like you've just, you know, potentially educated people or open people's thoughts to those words that we sort of hear on the street or we hear in different contexts, and actually it's always worth thinking, I wonder where that came from and stuff like that. So it's wonderful. I had loads of questions, Testament, so I think the answer to that is that we need to get you back. But I just want to ask, do you spend quite a lot of time wherever you are listening to how people talk and their dialect and their accents and stuff as part of your writing process? Is that something that you do?
It can be. With Blackman Walking, I literally went on walks with a Blackman's Walking group based in Sheffield.
Oh, fantastic!
So that was
wonderful play, by the way. I loved it.
Thank you.
Saw it. Loved it.
With Office in a Record Shop, that really draws on my 20 years in Leeds, and my knowledge of my friendships with great British black rappers. In fact, one's called Dialect from Leeds, and he speaks with a Yorkshire dialect. Or Saju, like, who appeared on Gratitude as well. So that's part of it. But yeah, there often is. I'm going for specific things, but I think it's also to do with my personality as well, because I've lived in loads of different cities, and I'm one of those people who has a chameleon accent without meaning to be. So I'm consciously picking up turns of phrase. You know, I remember going into teaching in a prison, and a kid said, played him some music, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that's legit calm." I went, legit calm. Like, I want to know what that dialect is. I want to know what that means. That's what's legit. He went, legit. Oh, like legitimate. And he went, calm. And I said, what's calm? And he's like, it's cool. You know, it's cool. And it's funny, like, because and in the next 10 years from that onwards, like, legit and also calm is now part of the parlance of young people anyway. They'll be like, oh yeah, that beats legit. That new Marvel film is legit.
Yeah,
exactly. That guy's calm. He's all right. He's calm. You know, it's just because of the thing. Oh, hello. 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 Can you hear me? Ooh.
Okay, I'm back. I think we might have just lost Testament. Everything seemed to go a tiny bit haywire. I'm not convinced whether it's the weather or what, but I'm going to ask Nicola and Angela and our next super special guest to come on screen. No idea what happened there. We're having some very strange tech stuff tonight with volumes and people disappearing. But I know...
I think it must be the thunderstorms, Jude.
Yeah, well, I was a bit nervous about the weather when we got the amber warning, and I thought, I hope it's all right. But hopefully I'll be able to connect with Testament and just be able to actually thank him for joining us. But I know that we're keen to carry on. Carry on like good Yorkshire people, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll all still be on screen all throughout the time. Yeah, it says it froze. Oh.
So I'd like to ask Angela actually how she came up with the idea for the Yorkshire Day Poetry Dumpling.
Well, it was when we were talking to Christina, actually. Christina, the writer in residence, and we just got talking about Yorkshire dialect and just being Yorkshire writers as well, and what that's like. And I'm really excited about having a Yorkshire poetry dumpling, because I am Yorkshire born and bred, Yorkshire tyke. Although I moved down south in my late teens and early 20s, and I had so much teasing, and it was quite painful at times because of my accent. I had a much broader Yorkshire accent then in those days as a teenager, and I had to change the way I spoke to fit in. And then when I came back home, I didn't fit in either because I'd lost my broad Yorkshire accent. And so I feel really strongly that it's important that young people can, well, anybody can speak in their mother tongue, as it were. You know, Yorkshire is our mother tongue, if that's the way we were brought up. And I know Jude didn't want me to mention it, but I really think that dialect and accent is a class issue, and that's one of the questions I wanted to ask Testament, especially because he mentioned Blake, who was a working class hero. Anyway, I'm going off on one, so I'll shut up and let you introduce our next guest, Nicola.
Okay. I think we've got Testament back.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have got Testament back. I just wanted to welcome him back very briefly so he could meet Christina and Catherine. And I wanted to say a massive thank you to Testament for joining us and doing such a stellar job for all the things he always does.
Can I just respond to something that I just overheard?
Absolutely.
So I 100% think it is a class issue. and I think the more we accept that different dialects are not substandard, but actually enrich our language, and that's why it's important to have northern voices in massive public spaces. And also, last top tip, the graphic novelist Alan Moore, who wrote The Watchmen and all that business, I met him once, and he told me that the word rap comes from Old English, and it comes specifically from Yorkshire, and rap meaning to tell a story. And obviously now the word has been repurposed, so now you're not just rapping doesn't just mean tell a story. Now people thinking about rappers and Eminem and Stormzy and all that. But so that's something where actually Yorkshire dialect has gone around the world and changed culture itself. So and long may it continue.
Wow. I'm even prouder now of being Yorkshire.
That's so cool.
I shall pass over to Nicola and Angela to invite our next.
Yes, okay. So I'd like to invite Christina Longden on here. Hi, Chris.
Hiya.
Hi. Okay, so Chris is our writer in residence for Kirklees Libraries, and we've done a whole range of broadcasts with the writer in residence programme, and these are available for catch up on our website, which is here. So if you go to that website, you can catch up on all our previous broadcasts that we've done since September last year. I think it was, wasn't it, Chris? Wow. I'll just briefly share my screen so you can see what the website looks like. There we go.
While you're doing that, Nicola, I'll just... Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. No, it's cool.
Sorry. Yeah. So this is our Writing in Residence website, and all the previous broadcasts are shown here, and you can catch up with any one of those.
Brilliant.
So there we go. Okay. Okay,
Thank
and
you.
then I'd also like to introduce Catherine Warr. Hello, Catherine.
Brilliant.
Hi. Catherine's a Yorkshire historian who's been described as Horrible Histories meets BBC Two. She's a Yorkshire lass and has met with fantastic success with her YouTube channel, which is here. Okay, so if you search for Yorkshire's Hidden History, you'll find her videos on YouTube. And she creates videos about her favourite aspects of Yorkshire history, and her work appeals to people of all ages. And she's currently writing a book examining the special celebrations and anniversary days of Yorkshire history. So very warm welcome to you both. Okay, and I'll hand over to Chris and Catherine.
Okay, I'm going to disappear. See you later. Thank
you.
Thanks, Nicola, as always. Hiya, Catherine. I hope there's not too much of a slight delay. And I would go on, don't worry.
No, it's just my computer came up with an update, so I thought that would frozen me, but no, it's fine.
It's always the way. We're going to rattle through lots of questions, and if people have got questions, we'll try and get them in at the end, and Nicola can like field them for us, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Great. Well, what I was going to say first of all is, before we go any further, people watching this, if you've not seen Catherine's videos and if you've not seen her YouTube channel, which we'll put the name on at the end, it's Yorkshire's Hidden History, you really have to go and binge watch it, because it's just fantastic. If you've not seen it before, you'll just spend many happy hours immersing yourself in the best of Yorkshire's history. But the one thing about what you do that really appeals to me, I suppose, as a historian myself, writing books on certain aspects of history, is that you say you're batting for the underdog, which I think is just fantastic. And for me, that's Yorkshire through and through anyway. There's a lovely video that you've done, which is, I think, the top 10 films, the top 10 Yorkshire films that are not Wuthering Heights. And you quite explicitly say, not the Brontes, everybody knows the Brontes. Let's focus on the people whose voices have not been heard, which is just just absolutely fantastic to hear. And you described as well, which I love, which is a highly eccentric and unconventional life, which is what the best of history. So I was going to try and split this into 3 different sections, just to be a bit of a control freak. And first of all, ask you about history, what it means to you, your background with history. Then let's chat about the videos and then on to the writing. So if that's all right with you, I did a history degree many years ago, but I didn't really fall in love with history till kind of did it at A level, really. And I didn't ever think of going to university, but I did. And I loved it and I did it and I embraced it. I didn't want to do the academic life, and I came back to it much later in life, but it always stayed there with me because I had a fantastic professor, Carl Chin, Peaky Blinder expert. So it came back to me later on. But obviously you are a million times younger than I am. Can I ask you, when was it you realised that history was your thing?
Well, it's quite an interesting question, because I didn't actually do history at A levels because my GCSE grade in history was too low, so I didn't do it at uni either. So I approached history from a completely unconventional background, but history's always been part of my childhood. So for as long as I can remember, my parents took me out to museums and castles and visiting places, and I was a voracious reader. So I always had horrible histories books. I was bringing them into school. So it was always a big part of my life. And obviously, if you watch my videos, you'll notice that my parents have a lot of old things in the house. So yeah, and at the end of college, I can't remember where I got the idea, but I noticed that there wasn't really a YouTube channel about Yorkshire history. And I thought, well, I could do that. So that was a few years ago. And it was just a hobby for me all the way through uni. And then when I left uni, and I was like, crikey, well, I've got to actually get a job now. Well, I tried the 9-to-5 life and I realised that it wasn't for me. So I started writing my book, which I could talk about later. And I realised that actually this is what I love doing. I love making videos. I love writing about history. You know, I cannot imagine myself doing something full-time which isn't history.
You know what really struck me when I went to university was that there was, thankfully I had, like I say, a fantastic couple of tutors who encouraged me to look at my local history from my area, and that set me up for the future, really, for what I'm doing now. But it really was very disheartening to go as a working class young woman to university and see nothing there that was about me from my area. And that's why when and again, it's still, to me, it's a big blank. So when I saw what you was doing with your own videos, I just thought, you've absolutely cracked it there, because you're taking your interest as a hobby, not as an academic, not pursuing a career in academia, but something that you love, that's in your gut, and you're taking it out there, and your success is just phenomenal, and it's going to get even bigger and bigger. So that's just fascinating to hear that it is what you love, and it's kind of what you've been pursuing for a long time. I suppose my next question is really, do you feel that enough people are studying their regions? And like you say, there was a big blank for Yorkshire history. You were the first person to do that in terms of creating the videos.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the thing, because in my own experience at school, we did a little bit of local history in primary school, but then that was kind of it. Local history, I think it's not regarded as either interesting enough by, say, broadcasters, or at schools, I dare say. Obviously they have the national curriculum, but I felt that in terms of engaging with local people, local history groups often do a fantastic job. They're the ones organising activity days for school kids and various things around anniversaries, but outside of that, not a lot of effort seems to be put into it. I mean, if you look at what's on TV, okay, you've got Lucy Worsley's 28th documentary about Henry VIII. You've got Michael Portillo's trips around the railways of Britain. It's all very general. Nobody wants to invest in local history.
And actually, from speaking to the people that I know work within the universities, that's getting more and more difficult because I suppose, don't want to get too political here, but the dumbing down of the curriculum is meaning that young people are not even looking beyond the usual World War One, World War Two. They're not looking at the local. I think there's the grassroots. I see a fantastic movement, certainly during lockdown. A lot of things have changed, which is why I'm dead keen to push people towards seeing what you're doing, because I think you're leading the way for a lot of young people as well. And like you say, if you're lucky enough to have parents and grandparents, as I did, who are into local history, they nurture that within you. But then you look externally and you don't see anybody else feeding it in the way that perhaps it should be. So you're out there leading the troops, which is brilliant to hear. I suppose I wanted to next really to ask you about your favourite. It's a stupid question, this, but what's your favourite period of history? Because anybody that'll go and look at your videos go, oh my God, the range is massive here. Do you have a particular favourite period?
Yeah, that's a really difficult one. I'd say I don't have one which I study more than others. I think I go through phases. So I'll go through a phase where I'm really, really obsessed with one period. But I think the one which I keep coming back to is the Victorian times. But not rigidly in Victoria's reign, but you know what I mean, the industrial era, because you get this great sort of juxtaposition between the greed at home and abroad, the abominable living conditions of workers, just the absolute depths of degradation. But on the flip side, you have people like Titus Salt, John Cadbury, Joseph Rowntree, who look at all of this and they go, you know, I'm choosing to do something differently. So they use their wealth to improve the living conditions of their workers. You know, something which is revolutionary, something which wouldn't necessarily make them more profitable, but doing it because it's their moral duty. And to have both sides of the coin at the same period of time, I think it's so fascinating. And obviously it's a lot easier to study because you have more sources. But I keep coming back to that kind of that dualism between sort of the depths of greed, but also the heights of altruism or philanthrocapitalism, whatever you want to call it.
I'm really glad you said that, because I feel just the same. Because when I started studying history, I fell in love with Anglo-Saxon history because I'd never been able to do that at school, you know, other than about the term on the Vikings when I was 6, and you know, similar. But when I kind of discovered my own sort of amazing family history, I just fell in love with that area. And for me, it was, you know, when we talk about the progress, I learned to type on a typewriter, a really big bangy thing. And if I look at the, you know, people think that, you know, we kind of broken the mold of technological revolution. Well, we haven't. You know, look back to my great-great-grandfather, 1828 to 1911, you know, absolutely saw way more changes and advances in society than even we have, you know, even me in my age and my parents' age as well. So I think for me that particular period of history is fascinating as well, you know, the changes that people saw and the poverty amidst the plenty and that kind of thing as well. So that I love the fact that your love of history is so broad as well. And I also love the fact, I should have said this at the beginning, that it was nurtured by horrible histories, because I'm too old to, you know, to have grown up with horrible histories, but it was been there for my kids, and they are bats. They know so much more history than I do, because and I honestly say that because of horrible histories. I suppose that their understanding of it is so much more well-rounded than mine ever was. It was quite niche, and I kind of look at what you're doing. I'm in awe of it, because I've only got my own sort of specific narrow fields of history, as a lot of historians have. Let's move on to your videos now, and I'm not even going to try to read out a list of the stuff that you've done over the years. Each one seems to be, correct me if I'm wrong here, between 5 and 8 minutes usually, isn't it? Each video, right? And which I think is perfect sort of an introduction. And you also go into a lot of depth in some of your videos as well. I mean, it's stuff like the Witches one. I like the Yorkshire Witches one, and the folklore films which you've done recently, the Ilkley Moor, Boggart, the Fairies of Cottingley, and you know, the myths. And I mentioned before, you've even done the top 10 films, which I was writing down actually, because there's a few on there that I still haven't exposed my children to. So how many years have you been doing it now, the YouTube channel?
So I think about 3 years, because I actually missed out a little bit when I gave you the brief rundown because I started my channel at the end of college, which was when I was about 17. But my videos at the start was so bad, like really, really bad, that I just got embarrassed and deleted them all. And then I didn't do anything for at least 6 months. And then I kind of restarted it, I think, in about my first or second year of uni. So the oldest videos on my channel now are about 3 years old. But there's kind of all these ones that are lost in the ether, but which you never want to see because they're really, really bad. But yeah, I've probably been doing it about 3 years.
And there's a lot there. There's something for everyone. Did you specifically say, right, do you know what? I'm not going to write a blog. I'm not going to do social media, you know, traditional typey stuff. I'm going to do videos. And if you did, was that because you knew that you wanted it to be a younger end of the audience, or did it just come naturally to you?
I just always knew that it was a better medium, because I know there's a lot of people who have their blogs and it can be very interesting, but it's a very active thing. You've got to actually read something and you're limited to just text and pictures. And a lot of people do a lot of Twitter stuff, but again, that's limited reach because it's only reaching the people on Twitter. Podcasts are popular, but if you're boring to listen to, you know, no one's going to listen. And also you're limited to just audio. Whereas with video, you get so much potential. It's such a dynamic medium. So you get visuals, audio, presentation. There's so much you can do with it. And even though at the time when I started it, it wasn't my intention to reach people from across the world. But now I've got subscribers from Australia, Canada, Europe. I don't know what they find interesting in Yorkshire history, although I think a lot of it is looking at their family history. But I'm able to reach anyone in the world with a video, which I think is just remarkable.
But also, I would say that you're in danger of being a bit, you know, a bit too humble about this. There's not many people that could crack out the stuff that you're doing. I mean, in terms of your presentation and your style and your content, it knocks the spots of some of the BBC stuff. I'm sorry if anybody from the BBC is watching this, but it really does. You know, and nobody's paying you a license fee. They should be paying you a license fee. It's really good just to watch it. It's so impressive and it is so professional. And, you know, I can sit my kid down with the grandparent and they can watch it together. And again, there's not many programs even that you could do that with. And I think what you've done is just fantastic. Did you mess around with video when you were a kid?
A little bit. I think everyone as a kid experiments a little bit with it, but I was going to say, you know, I do feel comfortable on camera and I kind of do know that I am quite articulate, but that's because I've just spent so long doing it that I've learnt it as I went along. I remember the first time I had to give a speech in college and I was so nervous and I was shaking and my voice came out all shaky. But then as I did it more, I just got more comfortable to it. Yeah. So the more you do it, like anything, the more you get better, which, you know, for anyone out there who's wanting to experiment with their own, there's no little tricks, secrets. You just got to practice, unfortunately.
Can I just ask you as well before I forget? I meant to ask you at the end, but I did notice that you were doing in Skipton, which is not far from where I am at the moment. You were doing do your own video course, and I thought, why didn't I know about that? I was, you know, do you get asked to do these or do you offer to do them? Because I just think so many people would love to learn from the expert.
It's a bit of both. I mean, with that one, they were looking for sessions, so I applied and they accepted. But also, I've had people reach out to me and be like, you know, I'd like you to come on and talk, or I'd like to interview you things. But I mean, I love kind of sharing, like how to make things, and you know, videos are such a good medium. And it's so easy to make once you know how to do it that I just love any opportunity to give people a little boost.
Right, I think we need to get you to Kirklees Libraries because I think you'll have, after this, you'll have loads of people wanting to come and not only learn, you know, the history, but also to learn your techniques of getting it across to the people that need to hear it. And, you know, there are many people out there that need to hear the hidden histories and the untold stories and the voices that don't get as much publicity as the mainstream voices that do. let's move quickly on to your writing, if that's okay. I know you've already got a book and a publishers, and I loved the fact that you said when you're chatting about the new book that you're doing, publishing takes a long time because it drives writers mad. Whenever, so where's the book then? You've written it. Where is it? Where is it? You know, you go into a mainstream publisher, you're going to somebody who has a lot of books, and you know, it's a whole pack of. If one domino goes, the others go. So you've got one at the publishers, very reputable publishers, and just tell us a little bit about what this book's about. The one that's all waiting to come out in 2022.
22, hopefully, yeah. So it's called A Yorkshire Year, and it's basically 365 days of folklore, customs, and traditions, one for each day of the year. It's something which, again, I felt that there wasn't really anything already out. There were books on Yorkshire customs and Yorkshire folklore, but they were very cursory, I'd felt. And there is a sort of seminal book by Steve Rood called The English Year, which covers English customs all across the country across a year, but it doesn't actually have 365 days. And I was like, oh, well, I could do that, and I could do it about Yorkshire, and I've got 365 days. So yeah, and it's a complete mix. So it's a mixture of folk tales, of some weird customs from 300 years ago, but also contemporary things as well, because all a tradition is a meaningful action or event which is passed down through generations. So I've included the West Indian Carnival in Leeds because generations of West Indians and other groups in Leeds have enjoyed that. It's become a Leeds tradition. And I've included sort of sports things as well. So anything basically which is a meaningful part of the community and that identity and is repeated is a tradition, in my view.
I'd love to see that on a calendar. I'm just thinking I want a calendar for my bathroom with Catherine's stuff on it. That would be fantastic. I'd buy that with some proper Yorkshire history illustrations on it. So that's the one that you've got under your belt, and dead exciting, when you give birth to that one. And now you're developing another one. Tell us about that one, because my ears picked up at that one because I started thinking, Celtic history here. I like this.
Yeah, so it's basically looking at early medieval Christianity in Yorkshire. So touching a little bit on the Romans, but finishing at 1066. And without sounding pretentious, rather than being a very dry history book, full of facts, it's more about exploring the lives of these historical figures. So it's saints and religious figures, and the aim is basically to be the most comprehensive account of these Yorkshire religious figures. So you've got famous ones, like Edwin of Northumbria, Hilda of Whitby, Wilfrid of Ripon. But you've also got lesser known ones, which might only have one or two lines in a single source from the 8th century, but they are still, interesting. So I'm still in the research and writing stage, so it's a little bit nebulous. Obviously, things become more clear as you go along, but I am quite enjoying it, and I quite like sort of uncovering little things which most histories skip. So the thing with this period, say Edwin of Northumbria, most histories of Anglo-Saxon Britain or of Christianity in Britain will just give a very cursory view at his life, whereas what I've done is I've looked at Bede's account and I've really chewed on it. I've really broken it down sentence by sentence, trying to find out, what's going on here. So, yeah, really going in depth.
I can't wait to read that, because one of the things that stays in my mind all the way through university, my tutor used to call the venerable Bede the venomous Bede, because there's so much smoke and mirrors going on, and I've never read a contemporary account, that is written in plain English, with the kind of style that I know you will employ, that explains, when we talk about Christianity, Anglo-Saxon Christianity, everybody instantly thinks religion, and so much of it was politics, and I think we can learn so much of how we've ended up in the religious state that we are today, of the way that we practice Christianity in the British Isles today, and the problems that have stemmed from as a result of that actual period that you're looking at. So I'm really really pleased. I've got 2 great books to be looking forward to be reading. How do you find the writing? Does it come very easily to you? Do you go, are you evil to live with? Do you lock yourself away and just rattle it all out?
But yeah, I mean, it's very weird because my creative process is quite annoying to me, actually, because sometimes what will happen is I'll get an idea and I've just got to do it immediately. Like, I become so restless if I can't do it, because then I think, oh yeah, this is the best idea ever. And sometimes, you know, if I'm really got the momentum, I can just write, you know, 1,000 words in a go or a few hours if I'm in the mood. But other times it really feels like you're just a real slog, nothing's working, you're reading out the paragraph and it's just not making sense. But generally I find that writing comes quite naturally to me, and I think it's because I've done a lot of reading. You know, the best thing you can do to improve your writing is to read, because you'll just absorb it without even realizing. So you know, I've written 1 book, you see, you get kind of used to it.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I've noticed, particularly the last 2 or 3 years, you know, some of the local history, the areas that I'm particularly interested in, people who've never been involved in the study of history in their life have just embraced it. And I think there's a danger in a way of everybody just dumping stuff on Facebook or in a blog and not sharing it more widely to people that don't access those particular forms of social media. So I just want to thank you in particular for, I suppose, for being so generous with what you've done, which is, you know, there's a lot of jealousy and protection of the work that people have done, and, you know, quite rightly so, when you've invested so much into a particular piece of history. But I think also as community historians, we've got to let it go at some point and get it out there and encourage new generations to fall in love with history and to find meaning and identity from it, which is what you're clearly all about. So I mean, I just want to sort of, I guess, finish the interview, which is, you know, which is the people that have just heard of you for the first time today. You'll have lots of fans watching anyway, but to encourage them to go and subscribe to your YouTube channel, even if you've never done YouTube before, go and do it. This is a reason to go and do it. And then we can find out when your book's being published and how to get hold of it. And hopefully we can invite you when we have people in real time in libraries again in Kirklees to come and talk about them. And that would be wonderful. So I just want to thank you really for your time today and, you know, celebrating Yorkshire. Look, there's a lovely comment. Shall I read that out? Great interview from Alan with Catherine Warr. Lots of the questions I would have wanted to ask her. So we'll get you back again, you know, and we'll have, hopefully, if you're willing to come and talk to us maybe next year, and we can do a real live event or something. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, it was great talking.
Thank you to both of you. That was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I definitely recommend watching Catherine's videos. They're absolutely superb.
Thank you very much.
Okay, then. Right, so I'll hand over now to Jude, who's going to tell us what's happening next.
Great stuff. Thank you. Yes, I'm going to tell you what's happening next. We're heading to a coffee break, but as promised, I'm going to bring up gratitude. So anybody who couldn't hear it before, I do apologize for the tech issues, but we will be playing it again right now. And so if you want to hang around or have it playing in the background, I'll get that up now. The coffee break will go till about 5 to 8, when we're going to be welcoming Talking Zebras, a Cleckham-based spoken word group, and they're fantastic. We've got 5 Talking Zebras, and they're going to be reading some of their own work. I'm sure quite a lot of it will be Yorkshire inspired as well. So hopefully we'll see you then. I'll just put the next screen up, which just talks about the coffee break, and then I'll get the gratitude video lined up so you can watch it, and fingers crossed hear it this time, and then we'll see you again at 5 to 8. Bye for now.
Look. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta take a little second. Look around, take a breath, comprehend it. My first page shows back in 97. Been a long road, every step I count a blessing. Round the world a few times, but home is forever. Testaments they home cut. Success is just the hoax that they sell us. Keep it real like Yorkshire, no confusion, it's all clear. I'm focused on my gratitude. Cause I was born with no silver spoon. Family did alright, spite troubles, and we seen a few. At least I had a spoon. Baby food turned to pocket money on Fridays. Penny chews after school. After we moved north, fast forward. GCSE's college, a future you aren't sure of. My African mum told me to be academic, imagine that. Now I'm off to uni. Where am I headed? That Yorkshire that launched my career, where the saga started. Back when the crew was Tom, Edem and Charlie. Crossley plus my spar Barney. Run into Jess and Tommy Evans a few times. We all starving artists. Grafted, putting syllables in dope patterns. Killing beats, putting vinyl out. Hoping the best might happen. Make you living straight, rapping over boom bap. Listen to premonition in a time capsule. Then life shuffles the playlist. New Bohemia lives on. Tuesday club still raving. It's a trek up those old cobblestones. Trying to make it like the old Hovis had. I pray for bread on a daily basis. Back in the same places. So I married Yorkshire. Raised my sons and daughters here. My cup of tea, Yorkshire, there it is. And if it all disappears, no, my dog's still terriers.
These feelings of joy, I'm ready to fall. These
Sometimes life doesn't show who you really are. What steps to take to conquer hysteria. Battling scars, demons and barriers. Head up truck is the Yorkshire way of telling you. Life gets better the harder you grind. Roll with the hills and the moors will give you time. Get your cock spinning and the stress is at your mind. Cause it's white rose baby, you can see it in my eyes. Lee City raised, show up we never hide. No pride round here. Blessings from the highs and the lows round here. Nowhere I'd rather be. Blessed and defend this place like Lucas Radaby. Know how to party, predict to write a Kaiser Chief Josh Warrington. Warring with the world, keep your hands up, bring glory, it's Saturn.
These feelings of joy, all these moments, hold on forever be
Gotta give shouts to Michael. Hey yo, man, first word. Hey yo, man, digital office. Hey yo, man, Kick and Evo. Hey yo, mate, listen to practice. Hey yo, mate, Silver Finger. Hey yo, mate, DJ Andy H. Hey yo, mate, Dialect. Hey yo, mate, Yorkshire, 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 Yorkshire. Hey, peace, peace.
Okay, so we've had the visuals from Gratitude, which is Testament with the Yorkshire Band, and we've had the sound, both of which are separate. So third time lucky, I'm going to have another try, and I'm going to put Gratitude on, so fingers crossed you'll get to hear it and see it in conjunction and enjoy it. Bye for now.
Okay, number 3. Hey, look. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta take a little second. Look around, take a breath, comprehend it. My first page shows back in 97. Been a long road, every step I count a blessing. Round the world a few times, but home is forever. Testaments to home cut. Success is just the hoax that they sell us. Keep it real like Yorkshire, no confusion, it's all clear. I'm focused on the gratitude. Cause I was born with no silver spoon. Family did alright, spite troubles, and we seen a few. Least I had a spoon. Baby food turned to pocket money on Fridays. Penny chews after school. After we moved north, fast forward. GCSE's college, a future you aren't sure of. My African mum told me to be academic, imagine that. Now I'm off to uni. Where am I headed? That Yorkshire that launched my career, where the saga started. Back when the crew was Tom, Edam and Charlie. Crosby plus my spar Barney. Run into Jess and Tommy Evans a few times. We all starving artists. Grafted. Putting syllables in dope patterns, killing beats, putting vinyl out, hoping the best might happen. Make you living straight, rapping over boom bap. Listen to premonition in a time capsule, then life shuffles the playlist. New Bohemia lives on, Tuesday club still raving. It's a trek up those old cobblestones, trying to make it like the old Hovis had. I pray for bread on a daily basis, back in the same places. So I married Yorkshire, raised my sons and daughters here. My cup of tea, Yorkshire, there it is. And if it all disappears, no, my dog's still terriers.
These feelings of joy, I'm ready for this
Sometimes life doesn't show who you really are. What steps to take to conquer hysteria. Battling scars, demons and barriers. Head up chuck is the Yorkshire way of telling you. Life gets better the harder you grind. Roll with the hills and the Mars will give you time. Get your cock spinning and the stress is at your mind. Cause it's white rose, baby, you can see it in my eyes. Lee City rays, show up, we never hide. No pride round here. Blessings from the highs and the lows round here. Nowhere I'd rather be. Blessed and defend this place like Lucas Radaby. Know how to party, predict a riot. Kaiser Chief Josh Warrington, warring with the world. Keep your hands up, bring glory, it's our turn.
These feelings of joy, gratitude, all these moments, hold on forever be
Gotta give shouts to Michael. Yeah, yo,
first word. Ayo, man, these young authors. Ayo, man, kicking evil. Ayo, man, that's what they practice. Ayo, man, silver finger. Ayo, man, DJ IDH. Ayo, man. Dialect, Ayo, man, Yorkshire, 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 Yorkshire. Hey, peace, peace. Give thanks.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I loved it every single time, but I must admit that when we actually got the video and the sound together, it was super. So I'm just going to jump off screen again and just put the coffee break minute thing on for a minute or two. And in just a couple of minutes, we'll be joined by the amazing Clecky and Bay spoken word group Talking Zebras. So see you in a minute. Hi, and welcome back to the next part of our amazing Celebrating Yorkshire Day Poetry Dumpling. I'm joined with Ange on screen, and we're just about to invite a couple of talking zebras up onto the screen. I know that one of the talking zebras, Barbara, is having a little bit of difficulty joining, so fingers crossed we'll be able to get that sorted out as soon as possible. But I'd like to welcome one talking zebra. I'd like to welcome Trev to the screen. Hi, Trev. Nice to see you. Just unmute you. Trev, that's great. Thank you. I was thinking I couldn't unmute you. So nice to meet you, Trev. I'm just going to see who else has managed to come along. Oh, Jim's here as well. Hi, Jim. Nice to meet you. Sorry that we were a bit delayed in bringing you onto the screen, but we've been having a couple of technical issues tonight. So it's lovely that you've made it. I'm wondering if Ange might be able to get in touch with Barbara possibly to see if there's any chance of her joining. So fingers crossed we'll be able to do that. We were expecting a few more. Do you know if they're having any difficulties or?
I haven't noticed. I've had no messages since I just tried to contact Barbara, and that, as you saw, it kicked me off the screen.
Oh, well, we'll leave Ange to do that if that's all right. And then, because if Angela needs to leave the screen, I think it's more important that you two are on screen at the moment as part of the amazing group of Talking Zebras. So I wanted to start off by just asking you a very quick question. And that was to tell us a tiny bit about what Talking Zebras is. Can you tell us a bit about the Talking Zebras group?
Well, basically, it's a group of like-minded people who enjoy speaking, poetry mainly, some prose. It started 2012 when a chap, David Lindsay, organised a fundraising concert for the Kirkwood Music and Poetry. I was one of the poets on the team, and we got together, and David came up with the idea of meeting regularly, which we did in Cleckheaton. And since then, we've had maybe 80 or 90 different people dropping in, with a core of about 40 of those who they don't all turn up at once. If it did, it would be a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm sure it would.
We've had, I think, the most at any one time was 30. The past couple of years, we've been meeting on Zoom, and we've been regularly getting somewhere between 12 and 20 on a Saturday afternoon.
Wonderful. That's really good. I mean, that's quite a big number for a spoken word group, isn't it? It means that you've got a lot of enthusiastic writers and poets.
We must be doing something right. A lot of our members are published poets, one myself, but some they just like read out poetry, other people's poetry usually, for those, and we even have some who are just listeners.
Okay.
We've had one member who's been to maybe 90% of our meetings, and he's only twice read a poem.
Wow. So obviously enjoys hearing it. Yeah, wonderful. I think you've sort of partly, I will be quick because I'm conscious of the time and we're desperate to hear your poetry as well. So I guess you've started to answer this question. What are the benefits of joining a spoken word group? So maybe we could invite Trevor to answer that as well, about benefits that both of you have found from joining a spoken word group.
Well, one thing I found is you meet people of like-mindedness. You can swap ideas around. You can get advice of other people, give them advice, and it's just a nice way to meet people, like-minded.
Fantastic. Yeah.
A lot of people said they like going. It's peaceful. It's calm. It's something different, away from the hurly-burly. And we have a number that drop in after they've done the shopping on a Saturday.
Oh, nice.
When we used to meet live in the centre of Cleckheaton, it was very handy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's the peaceful, calm. It's not hectic.
Yeah, good. And we all need some of that, don't we? Definitely. Even in lockdown, it can have felt quite hectic at times, can't it? I guess my next question is, which I missed the C off. Can anyone join? And if yes, how?
Yes, anybody can join. They don't have to be poets. They just got to enjoy the spoken word, either doing it themselves or listening to it. And if they contact us via our website or simply talking_zebras@yahoo.co.uk,
I'll get that up.
Then that's it. I will contact them then, give them the link to the next meeting, and they're
Fantastic. Wow. Fantastic. So as simple as that. And Cleckheaton is
on the link you've got there. There's an underscore between talking and
Zebras. Let me change that. I'll get that changed before, and we'll have that up properly. An underscore under there. Right. Wonderful. So should we start doing a bit of poetry? I don't know who would like to go first and maybe introduce themselves and a bit about the poetry.
Well, I think Trevor, the road poet, was due on at 8:05, which is more or less now. So, Trevor, take it away.
Brilliant. Over to you.
Yeah, as Jim said, I'm Trev, the road poet. I adopted that name in 2012 after my second tour of America, of Texas, because I write while traveling. I've also written about pilgrimages, various other things, and gained many other names. In particular, in America, I'm called the Rhymey Limey. And with it being Yorkshire Day, I have a couple of few Yorkshire poems. And the first one is based on something I saw on Facebook. On the 6th day, God created Yorkshire. On the 7th, he rested, knowing what he created would never be bested, and thought on reflection. When he created Yorkshire, he created perfection. Now Yorkshire folk can be poking sarcasm to others when they say, when he created the other counties, he was only joking. And my second poem is, when I can find it, it's actually a poem about an event for Yorkshire Day in Pontefract, when I decided to sing walking in Pontefract to the tune of Walking in Memphis, and the guy went up and asked for the words to it. Have you got the lyrics? And I just decided to write the following poem about it. The event was flowing, sound system going. It seemed a great way to celebrate Yorkshire Day. Lyrics on the screen, music playing, mic in my hand. I thought this is really gonna be grand, totally unplanned. So I began the song, making it up as I went along. Changed the name to Walking in Pontefract. Well, Ponty to be exact, but no WC handy or Reverend Green to be seen. But the ghost of Elvis followed as he made his way from Horse Fair to Marketplace, where Ponty folk were celebrating Yorkshire Day, and Gabriel playing piano every Friday at a local pub. And me and him doing a little number, I'm singing with all me might. And he says, tell me, Trev, is they a Ponty lad? And I say, aye, I am tonight. The end was simple and plain. At Baghill Station, getting off the train, and the shoppers laughing and clapping away. And I'm thinking, aye, what better way to celebrate Yorkshire Day? And if I have time, I can just do a short one that Glenn Campbell stole off me. And he made a lot of money out of it. Unfortunately, I didn't. I think you'll probably guess what he made out of it. I've been ploughing these fields so long, singing the same old song. I know every rut in these dirty cart tracks of Rydale, where farming's the name of the game, and crops can get washed away like the snow and the rain, and there's no compromising when it blows from the horizon and blows right over me. I'm a 9 stone ploughboy, preparing the ground for the crops to grow. I'm a 9 stone ploughboy, helping feed people I don't even know, and all some can do is moan. Well, I really don't mind the rain, but tourists can be a pain. It's frustrating with their cars blocking the field gateway, and I'm feeling blue, not knowing what to do. So I'm surmising, is anything better waiting over my horizon? Or will I always be just a 9 stone ploughboy, preparing the ground for the crops to grow? Just a 9 stone ploughboy, helping feed people I don't even know, and all some can do is moan. I'm just a 9 stone ploughboy. Thank you very much.
Nice one, Trevor.
Hey, thank you. I was just checking. That was wonderful hearing those poems for the first time. I've heard all about Talking Zebras, so what a joy to hear some live poetry from you as well. That's wonderful. I think we're having a tiny bit of tech problem with a couple of other Talking Zebra members.
Looking that way, Fred.
I think we'll keep swapping between the two of you. So if Jim wants to start to do some of his poetry, we might ask you to come back, Trev, if we've got, because it's only 8:10. So I know that you've got lots and lots of poems. So we'll do our best to resend some of the links and get some of the other Talking Zebras in. But if we don't manage it, it'll be great to hear your work as well. So shall I ask Jim to step across?
Why not?
There we go. Thank you.
A while back, I was asked to do Yorkshire Day in Morley, and they wanted someone to do street poetry, but they didn't provide a mic, so that was a little bit more exhausting than this is going to be. This is one I wrote for that event. All around this regal shire, the true Tyke's heart is full of fire, for a day in praise of our own county, to show we're grateful for its bounty. Town and city, moor and fell, Yorkshire's the place we love so well. Yorkshire's treasures that few can boast, stretching from the Pennines to the coast. Yorkshire moors, Yorkshire dales, they have a glory that never fails. Lakes and meres, falls and tarns have inspired many famous yarns. Even the buildings have their own charms, historic places, not just a coat of arms. Castles, barns and satanic mills provide us with varied architectural thrills. From north of Whitby, down past Hull, the coast exerts a mighty pull. There's seaside towns and fishing ports, with even a sprinkling of Roman forts. Inland we trek o'er wold and moor, as did the raiders in times of yore. We travel on through fields and village that those invaders came to pillage. Vikings and Romans, Parliament and Crown, they've all tried to beat the Yorkshiremen down. But when the intruders tested our mettle, we knew just how we had to fettle. We've been invaded on many occasions by strangers from far-off nations. They came to plunder, but many chose to stay. They've helped to make us what we are today. Now with happy hearts so full of zest, let's tell the world that we're the best. So let all true tykes stand and raise happy voices to sing Yorkshire's praise. Yorkshire Day. Now, many of you may think you've heard of various Yorkshire dialects. You haven't. You've heard some Yorkshire dialects. There's loads of them. As a member of the Yorkshire Dialect Society, I keep saying they should take the name and make it plural. Here's one I put in their magazine a few years back. Dialect Despair. I was born and bred in Yorkshire. Saying that's allus made me proud. But Yorkshire's best at counties, as we tell folks long and loud. But there's something that saddens me and makes me so frustrated. I went to school in the 60s and speaking Yorkshire would be dated. Me mum and me dad made me speak all proper, like old folks on BBC. And though I read mony a book, they were all writ quite properly. So tight's in me blood, but not in me mouth, and I struggle with real dialect stuff. I'm buying lots of old folks writing, but I'm finding reading it's rather tough. There's something else that's holding me back, but I'm sure it's same with thee. There's more than just one dialect of Yorkshire, more like 103. And though I'll always keep trying and asking folks all around, I'll never be sure they're using right words. No, nor sure they make it right sound. Yorkshire Dialect Despair. Up in the corner of my screen, you've got a little Yorkshire rose. White rose, of course, what else? But did you know about 20 years back, when they tried to do a formal Yorkshire thing on the internet, they wanted to use a different colour for the Yorkshire rose?
I didn't know.
Green. Well, I wrote this. When I heard the news, it got right up me nose. Them stupid buggers want to change white rose. Did Richard of York gain battle in vain? Is our beloved emblem as bad as they claim? No. Every true tyke Yorkshire born and bred knows his roses, both white and red. Loyal sons of York think it's really obscene to give us a new rose and then colour it green. It was awfully bad times when they stole our old ridings. So, to this stupid new logo, let's say firm, no, no. We fought many a battle in days of yore. Ever since we know what the right rose stands for. It'd hardly vex us if we lost the white rose of Texas, yellow rose of Texas. It'd be no great disaster to lose the red rose of Lancaster. But in God's chosen acre, let's keep the rose of our maker. So, we joined in the fight, and we kept the Yorkshire rose white. Leek green rose. Oh, well, that's my 5 minutes, I think, so.
I just brought Angela back on screen because I saw her doing this in the background. So I thought there's a supporter of Yorkshire there.
Oh, I'd hope so. Thank you, Angela.
So we've resent the link across to one or two of the Talking Zebras, but unfortunately they're still struggling to get themselves on. So if you two would like to carry on, we're at 15:15 now. So we've got another at least 5 minutes to have some more poetry. So if you fancy stepping up and reading a bit more.
Well, I'd pass the book to Trevor if he wishes to.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Can I just mention that this Sunday at Baildon Moor or Roberts Park Shipley, there's an open air poetry event. It's in. If you go into Poetry on the Moor 4 on Facebook, there's a link in the private chat page. And Nikki J. Ray is running it. We've already run 3, and they've been really good, relaxed, family orientated. Everybody's enjoyed them. Well, this came about when I did. I referred to a Walking in Memphis type poem, but it wasn't called Walking in Barnsley. And I thought, oh, why shouldn't I do one? And I did. And this is it. It was 1994. I was stuck on a traffic jam on the A64, radio playing and a guy talking about the time he were walking, wearing blue suede shoes through a town in land at Delta Blues. Its lyrics such a wonderful rhyme. It became my favourite song of all time. Little did I know, though, what future it'd bring. 23 years later, I'd write similar about walking through a town in a land where Coyle were once king. When I put on my old flat cap and boarded train, got off on Barnsley Station, in shadow of Barnsley, Maine. Dickie Bird's statue lifted my gloom. With his smile and his upraised finger, I thought of him sending another Lancashire batsman back to the changing room. Then I'm walking in Barnsley, looking to buy some tripe and coweel. Walking in Barnsley, looking for something for my next meal. Saw the ghosts of 384 miners walking through town. Followed them up to sight of Oaks Colliery and watched them go back down. I remembered what happened, the disaster of 1866, so long ago. They blamed it on fire damp. But did they ever really know? And I was walking in Barnsley, looking to buy some tripe and coweel. Walking in Barnsley, looking for something for my next meal. They got black pudding on table, but pies all golden brown. And Barnsley folk will say, come in, lad, sit thee down, don't worry about a chair, 'cause they'll get thee a chair in Barnsley. Night tights play at Oakwell on a Saturday afternoon, and dads take the kids to see 'em, to cheer 'em on. And 'cause at time they were doing all right, I was asked, would I like to be a fan? And I said, happen I will one night. And I'm walking in Barnsley, looking to buy some tripe and coweel. Walking in Barnsley, looking for something for my next meal. Put on my old flat cap and boarded train. Got off on Barnsley Station, in shadow of Barnsley, Maine. Got off on Barnsley Station, in the shadow of Barnsley, Maine. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank
You can
you.
actually see that on my Facebook page on one of my albums. There's photographs of the places in Barnsley that's relevant.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds wonderful. It's, yeah, all that. Conjuring up so many different things that I haven't thought about for a long time, like tripe.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Trev, because that gave me a real flashback to my granddad, who was from Barnsley, who loved tripe. So that was a real connection there.
Real warmth there. Can we just welcome Richard? He's finally made it. Yay! It's wonderful. So Richard, one of the talking zebras, who I'd like, if you're ready, Richard, to invite you to do a poem, and I'll bring you up on screen. And let's get you up larger, Richard. And if you're ready, it'd be wonderful to hear what you've written.
There you go. Now, I probably don't sound quite as Yorkshire as everyone else. But in actual fact, I've lived in Yorkshire all my life. I grew up in Harrogate. And in Harrogate, you actually talk like this. So 40 years in Leeds did this to me. And most people think I sound posh, but not half as posh I did when I came from Harrogate. And now I'm at Withensea, so I'm in East Yorkshire. And this is a memory from when I first got engaged about 48 years ago. And it was in Leeds. And it's called Beer Is Not to Blame. So when we were first engaged so many years ago, Eileen decided for a meal with her mum we would go. Off I went down a dark cobbled street, my future mother-in-law to greet. Now I had had a strangely sheltered childhood. I was not sure that this place was any good. For one thing, the toilet was down the cellar stair, and in the kitchen the bath was there. I decided they did not have a lot of money, so did not expect much food. Now that was quite funny. Winnie was her mother's name, and as a cook she was certainly game. We sat down at the side of the bath covered, had a meal so large took me weeks to be recovered. I started off with a huge Yorkshire pud, covered in think onion gravy, ever so good. I thought they were so poor that this was instead of meat. were so large that I was immediately replete. Then came a huge full serving plate covered in roast beef and veg. It was so great. It was so piled with food aplenty, I had to eat some to make it a bit empty so I could ask some more thick gravy. You could have fed 10 men from the Navy. Then I noticed something on the stove a-boiling. I was this by time, my hunger a-foiling. Winnie pulled out a huge muslin bag. My hunger sure was starting to flag. This was a large sticky pudding sponge, made my poor stomach take a lunge. I could not believe how much food there was there, nor what Winnie called a little bit of Yorkshire fare. I managed to clear my overcrowded plate, but almost groaned when I saw my fate. Out of a big tin came a huge fruit cake. She cut it in quarters, said she liked to bake. Then she covered the cake in slabs of cheese. I started quaking right down to my knees. I struggled to keep up with all this food. Shouldn't grumble, it was all very good. Then she made a full fat milky coffee drink. I was grateful to be at the end of the meal, I did think. But she said that was not all and gave me a wink. I wondered what else and gave a blink. Then we wandered into the lounge next door. What I saw nearly had me fall on the floor. Let's have a nice chocolate nibble, said she. A huge family bar each from Mr. Cadbury. I was given a family-size old Jamaican bra. Could feel the weight coming on. Would I need a bra? When I declined that chocolate treat, she did sway and stagger on her feet. Lad's got nowt of an appetite, eats like a girl. She did sway. I could feel my waistline start to unfurl. Thereafter, every time I ate at the house, I fasted before or ate like a mouse. So now you see why I don't blame curry or beer. It's my mother-in-law's cooking I had to fear. I went from 9 to 19 stones. She swore she'd get a bit of meat on my bones.
Very funny.
Completely true. It was enormous.
Those enormous Yorkshire puddings, I think we all know them pretty well, don't we?
Well, the Yorkshire pudding was huge, but then this plate. My father used to have this turkey plate for Christmas dinner that had like 3 meals on it. It was like that. Yeah. It wasn't a round plate that you would eat dinner off. It was just unbelievable, the food that they managed to get away. And there was nobody, shall we say, skeletial in that house.
And I think I forgot that often Yorkshire puddings would be given as a starter, weren't they? I kind of think of them as being part of the Sunday roast, but actually,
I think they started off as a filler to make sure you were full. So when they didn't have much food, if they didn't have a lot of meat or any meat, then you would still be full. Yes.
Yeah. With lots of gravy and onions and things as well.
And there was none of this skim milk in custard or anything like that, and there was no slices with Winnie. She just cut everything in quarters. There were 4 of us. And I think it said, I don't know if it's a Yorkshire thing or a Leeds thing, but you put cheese on top of Christmas cake and on top of fruit cake. And I don't mean a thin slice.
No, a big chunk. Yeah, absolutely. I think it might be a Yorkshire thing because a lot of people do that in Huddersfield. So, because I know when we brought out mince pies, at Christmas in the library and stuff, when we could all go in there, and people used to, talk about having cheese on top of the mince pies and things like that as well. So it must be a cheese and fruit thing.
Yes,
it might be Lancashire.
That's quite an old poem. I've been writing about 10 or 11 years. And I think that was the first time that somebody requested that poem. Somebody said, here, can we have that one about your mother-in-law? And that gave me a fantastic feeling. It has happened since. But I remember, wow, somebody remembered one of my poems from a couple of months ago. And they want to hear it again. And that was the first time that happened. You remember odd things like that, don't you?
Of course you do. And I'm really sorry, but we're starting to run out of time. So I could keep listening to you for ages and ages. And one of the things which would be absolutely wonderful to do is when we back in libraries and welcome it. I mean, libraries are open again now, but when we're able to put on some events, it'll be absolutely wonderful sometime later in the year or maybe early next year to invite Talking Zebras into the building to do a live mic. So I think it would be a brilliant thing to do then, and invite people to come and listen and maybe share some of their poems as well. So
Well, I'm just glad I managed to get in the end.
you did, and I'm so sorry that we only got
No,
one of
it's
your
fine.
poems, but
No.
it's fantastic that you actually got in. Sometimes I think, particularly tonight, technology has not been our friend, I must say. So I think we're just going to have a quick round up, and Angela's popped back onto the screen. So we want to say thank you so much to Talking Zebras for joining us. What a great local writing group it is. And I know there's lots of you. Yeah, get writing, get joining your local groups. They're all very welcoming. I can say that because I've met a lot of the local writing groups from all sorts of different events that libraries have done. So you can go along and listen first, like people have said. You could maybe try out a few new poems, get brave, and I'm sure you'll be very supported wherever, whichever group you join. So I think it's just about ending tonight, isn't it? And have you got anything that I just wanted to bring up a little banner for Testament that we kept losing Testament again because of the tech. I just promised that I would mention about Orpheus in the record shop. If you want to hear the full play, you can go to bbc.co.uk and there's an episode on the iPlayer there. So you can always also go to Testament's website, and there's details about all sorts of things to do with Testament. So big shout out to Testament, and a big shout out to Christina and to Catherine Warr, and over to Angela.
Yeah. No, I just wondered, have we got a link for the gratitude video as well? If anybody wants to play that back.
We have, what I would suggest, if people Googled gratitude and Testament YouTube, they'll get it. But on our social media, what I'll do as soon as we've finished here, I'll put the link on social media for people to watch it again as well. And when this episode, like we've got this event tonight, we have actually. It is recorded, so people can watch it again, and we're going to repost it on Sunday, which is the official date of Yorkshire Day, the 1st of August. Yeah, exactly. And we were so excited. We wanted to get in there early and start celebrating. So I'll make sure it's on the link for that one as well when we put that one out.
Hopefully next year we'll be able to have Talking Zebras live in the library and for Yorkshire Day. And also, please, can we have some dumplings? Poetry dumplings. We want dumplings and Yorkshire puddings.
We love dumplings, and Yorkshire puddings. And I think that is pretty much it, apart from to say thank you again to Talking Zebras for joining us, and hopefully we'll see lots more of you when we get to see you live or when we do another event. And thank you so much to Christina London, our wonderful writer in residence, and Catherine Warr, who I have not met before, but she's inspired me to go and see her videos on YouTube. And obviously, thank you so much to Testament for joining us and doing his amazing performances. I always enjoy Testament wherever and whatever he does. He's fantastic. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Is that everything, Ange? Do you think we've covered
it? Just saying thanks again. Thanks
Wonderful.
again.
Thank you. Bye-bye, and see you again soon. Bye-bye for now. Bye.
Bye.